All right, YouTube, tell me when we're live. We're live. It's Wednesday, July 8th, 2020. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight, we're talking about that Studio Trigger Netflix anime, BNA, Brave New Animal. I gotta say, though, we're watching Kipo kind of at the same time. Like that like kids show about the post-apocalypse I've talked about at Geek Nights before. In Kipo, there's like multiple points where different characters end up in a situation where they have one big beefy arm, but like nothing else is weird about them. Like a normal looking character with one gigantic Trogdor arm. That happens like enough to where it's a thing in that show. And then we watch some BNA and one big beefy arm happens in BNA multiple times as well.
Happened so many times, yeah.
Yep. And in the recent season of Rick and Morty, one beefy arm is actually the like B plot of an entire episode. I feel like if your thing is one big beefy arm, 2019 to 2020 might be your time.
What other instances can I think of the one beefy arm? I guess there was that guy.
Like Trogdor.
Yeah, Trogdor.
So far, I've got Trogdor, like 3 different characters in Kipo, bunch of characters in BNA, and
there
one
was
episode
some
of Rick and
character
Morty.
on X Factor in the 90s who was like, whose mutant power was just like being like super muscle for like beyond any point of that made sense.
But only in one arm?
No, I think it was pretty much like his whole upper body and tiny legs.
But that's just
It
a
was like
documentary.
it was like
bad
it was
people
two
at
little
gyms.
tiny. What was that guy's name? Let's see. I'll look it up while
That feels like a documentary of just people who skip leg day. So I do have an opening bit.
Oh, his name was literally Strong Guy.
Really running out of ideas there for your superheroes?
That was
Guy?
in the 90s. No, his first appearance was in New Mutants in 1985. So
Okay.
actually,
Strong Guy just feels like Venture Brothers with a Brick Frog. So I the other day I ate a food that I have not eaten in more than a decade. I cannot remember the last time I ate this food. I believe it was while we were at RIT still. But
okay.
I got a package of a bunch.
Was it the Baron's frozen pizza?
Oh no! It is not that. It was in fact Cheetos.
Yeah, I don't eat that.
Yeah, I don't eat that either. So when I was a kid, though, when I was a young kid, like high school and middle school, I would eat like an entire family-sized bag of Cheetos by myself, like watching TV.
I would not do that.
I love Cheetos.
Okay.
So obviously, I do not particularly care for Cheetos anymore. I have not eaten them in a long time, but because we can't like stop to eat out, especially previously in the earlier parts of COVID, we had to bring like a lot of food and snacks with us. So I bought a like Frito-Lay box that just had a whole bunch of different like mini packages of various like Frito-Lay things. And there's a lot of like
I bought a box of fig bars and also some Stinger waffles.
I got those too. The Stinger waffles. That is the best kept secret of bikers and runners. Stinger waffle will keep you going. I love those things. But
I'm glad I discovered them for free.
Yeah, I discovered them on the Harlem Valley Railroad. I never had one before.
Yeah, I think I had one ride before that.
Yep. On that ride, I remember I stopped and I was looking at the snack thing at the first rest stop and I saw that Stinger waffle and I was like, honey waffle? That sounds like it's up my alley. And I ate it. And then at the next rest stop, I grabbed like 3 and stuck them in my pocket.
Yep.
So, but we got the snack pack and it's mostly like the stuff I wanted. But there's 4 little bags of Cheetos in there. I'm not just going to throw them away. And I was desperately hungry, like right after a run the other day. So I opened a bag of Cheetos and I ate a food that I have not eaten in over a decade. And all I got to say about Cheetos, they are not good. They are not great. Like time traveling Rim has to return to the year 1994 and smack that shit out of young Rim's hands. Good.
Well, first of all, we know that as you get older, your taste buds change. And I think that affects a great
Maybe my
deal.
my adult taste bud just can't handle the extreme power of Cheetos.
Right. It's like I'll make fun of adults who are like ew onion, right?
Yeah.
But I won't make fun of children who are ew onion because I remember that when I was a kid, if I would like put an onion in my mouth, it was like right because I had kid lively taste buds, whereas now I'm like onion, right?
Oh, now I'm a little bit like George Costanza. Like I'll eat onion raw, like while I'm cooking. I'll just like slice off a piece.
Apple. Yeah, I'll bite into an apple like an onion, like an apple. I don't care.
You almost said bite into an apple like it's an onion.
I'll do that too.
But Cheetos, That is a sad food to have in your body because it tastes fake. And then when I actually finished eating the Cheetos, it felt like I just had like styrofoam peanuts in my stomach. It was just a bad experience all around. I give Adult Rim gives Cheetos 2 stars because 1 star is reserved for that big boy on the New York State Thruway.
you and your big boy.
That was the worst meal I've ever eaten on purpose in my entire life. I will never forget that. I've eaten worse things, but not on purpose.
Okay.
I chose that food. Anyway, you got some news? It is animation and comic day after all.
Yeah, I do have a news. What was it? I sent it to you. Oh, right. So a comic that has been gone since, when did it go away? The 90s? Right? When did it run? 95. Wow.
Our family, we were obsessed with the Far Side. We bought every like compilation book as they came out. Like we had them all in the library.
Right, so when I was a kid, 80s, 90s, right? Newspaper comic strip was a thing. It's still kind of a thing, but it dwindled as I was reading them, right? As comics became available in other mediums, especially the webcomic, and people stopped reading the newspaper, that pretty much killed this newspaper comic.
At the same time, a lot of good newspaper comics either changed like their process or got worse, or like the selection started changing regionally.
Even before newspaper comic as a whole was dying and newspapers were still a thing, they were constantly being, shrunken, right? You look at like early, I got a collection of all these early frickin' Prince Valiants. Each one of them is a full newspaper page. They're enormous, right? The books are enormous. I'd bring one over if there wasn't audio podcast.
I got them all over in the bedroom right now. But as a kid, The Far Side was amazing because I didn't have modern internet, and The Far Side was like the weird, absurdist humor that it turns out is my favorite kind of humor as an adult.
Yep. There was not the other you would read the newspaper comics, and a lot of them were pretty much just like Hallmark card fodder, right? Yeah. And some of them had something special going on with them, right? And those ones were always obvious and stood out, and The Far Side was one of those ones.
Yep, like
right?
Far Side, Calvin and Hobbes, Foxtrot, like there was like the subset.
Foxtrot was still sort of Hallmarky.
It was Hallmarky, but Foxtrot was the best of the Hallmarky ones. Like
because it was nerdy Hallmarky. Yeah. It wasn't really
like nerdery creeped in a little bit because I remember just always like the fact that there was nerdy stuff in that comic made me read it. So I don't really begrudge nerds who get really into something because it speaks to them that way.
But anyway, so since 1995, Gary Larson, unlike the creator of Calvin Hobbes, who's been hiding somewhere in Ohio in the woods, I don't know where, and people go to find him like the freaking Bigfoot, right? And Gary Larson isn't dead or hiding; he just wasn't cartooning, right? But now suddenly, right, after 20 plus years of webcomics, right? He's given in and he's producing a digital comic. You can tell he's digitally coloring it just by looking at it.
Well, did you read the thing where he talked about like how he started to learn digital process and how much he loved it?
Yeah, I mean, once you learn that computers are awesome, it's kind of
he was obvious. Like, I felt like it was too hard in the old days, but I wanted to see how far the technology progressed. I'm super paraphrasing because I read this whole interview with him that was very recent. And then he was like, I got out my pen, but my pen sucked. And he just bitched a while about how pens sucked. And then he was like, so I got a tablet and I figured I'd try it out. And it changed my life. It made comics fun again. Oh my God. Like he talked about it the way we talked about Python when Python emerged. In terms of making programming fun.
Also something that's been around for 20 plus years.
Yep.
Right? Anyway, so yeah, Gary Larson is back to cartooning. He released 3 comics yesterday. They're all right.
They're Far Side.
They're Far Side-ish, right? Single panel, absurdist kind of things. You can see the joke in them, but they're not laugh out loud funny. They're not. If you put them in with the existing Far Sides,
they'd fit.
They would not rank highly, I don't think.
They would fit in though. They're about that level because I've always liked the Far Side, but the Far Side was basically superseded by the Dada-esque nightmarescape of comedy that has arisen since on the internet.
Yes, exactly. Right. So,
and I say nightmarescape with love.
So it's like we have all these amazing, it's great that comics are no longer being, held back by, publishers and newspapers deciding what gets, out there and what doesn't.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And it's great that all the the small time webcomic people have a platform, because I love all their shit. We have things like Webtoon, which seems to publish anything that anyone asks them to. And anyone can make a website and throw it, or you just put their comic on Twitter. You don't even need a website. But it's also great to have old people come back too, right? It's like, let's have there's room for everything. So having the whole space dominated by the awesome young people is great, but we'll have room for one old guy. One old guy is the limit.
I'm always excited when someone like rediscovers their art that they'd sort of semi-retired from for reasons.
Right. It's also, I think at one point, New York likes to put these different like signs up in the city that are just like not necessarily advertisements, just sort of like inspirational posters, I guess. Occasionally you'll see. I remember ones that were like, oh, Beethoven, he didn't compose shit till he was like 80 or something, right? And it's like, I don't know how true that is, but
well, like the equivalent of the Count of Monte Cristo was in his 40s before he broke into his stride.
Right, it was something like that. So it's sort of like, Gary Larson, how old's that dude? He's got to be way old, right?
I actually don't know. I don't even know what he looks like, but I've read a lot of interviews with him. Nice.
Yeah. So if 69-year-old Gary Larson can make his first webcomic, and you are less than 69, right? You got a long way to go. Don't worry about starting late in life, right?
Yep. So, some other news. I enjoy Slayers, like the anime. I've seen, I think, every Slayers OAV, and I've only seen the TV show up through Try, and Scott's only seen up through Next. Like you, me, and Emily were gonna watch Try, and we got distracted and never really did it. I have the DVD.
I also watched
right
2
there.
episodes of some other Slayers.
Oh, we watched the Revolution.
Yeah, right.
Where the weird thing shows up and can also cast Dragon Slave, and then we didn't watch it further. Thing. I think because it was hard to get episodes, like there was something up with it. This was a long time
I don't know,
ago.
Is it available?
Probably, but you should watch Try first to stay in order.
Yeah. We should rewatch the regular Slayers.
I can rewatch regular Slayers.
As a random side note, right? So, occasionally I've been watching the Link to the Past randomizer, right? So one of the top players of the Link to the Past randomizer is somebody whose internet name is Zelgadis-san, right? so and he doesn't put a space or a hyphen in it or anything. It's just like Zelgadis-san, right? So I'm like, that person's a Slayers fan, and I went to their stream and asked them, and they're a big time Slayers fan.
Someone who is like noting the honorific. That's like someone who's like, what?
So the point I want to make, though, is it's hilarious that whenever Zelgadis-san is racing and there's like commentators on like a restream,
they're just like Zelgadis-san, like they don't get it.
No, they'll just be like Zelga or Zelgadisson or.
Oh my god!
Right? They see it as all one word. They don't know. So I went to Zelga's channel to confirm, and indeed, huge Slayers fan.
That's one thing.
And also chill dude, as far as I can tell.
Esports commentators are starting to do correctly now, I've noticed, similar to how real sports, like, I don't want to say real sports, but you know what I mean, like an NHL commentator. They have, there is an official cheat sheet you have if you're a commentator in a professional sport that is like, any name you might have to say, here is the phonetic, how to say it in case you have to say it on air, so it's consistent, so they don't mess that up that often. Esports are doing the same thing with the handles of these characters for obvious reasons. I feel like the streaming commentary people, that is a very easy thing they could do when they're commenting on streams, is ask someone how to pronounce their screen name in advance. Otherwise, you're going to get Rhyme and Apreche doing their podcast.
I mean, my name intentionally doesn't have a correct pronunciation, so...
Nope. I do know that.
Although there are, you could make various arguments for different ones, but I will not officially deem any one of them all wrong and all right simultaneously.
In a distant future, the Wikipedia article has a section. It's unclear whether or not there was a canonical pronunciation of Scott's
There's a whole section pronouncing Scott's
stage name.
However the fuck you want. I don't care.
The question will be in our old age, is that section by itself, or is that section in a controversy section about us? But I'm pretty pumped to read these novels because I've read segments from them that fans had translated in the past, and from what everyone who has read them in Japanese has said, the Slayers TV show is super fun. But it's also like it's kind of a shonen fighting show that's just hidden, like it's buried in many layers of humor.
It has a lot more comedy going on than other shows.
Yeah, but it also gets like serious in a weird we've reviewed Slayers in the past. Everyone says that the novels are just faster and denser versions of that. It's just puff, 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 go, 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 like joke a minute. Everyone loves these novels from what I can
visual,
tell.
those, I don't know if they're visual novels or not, but yeah.
They're light novels.
Okay, yeah, light novels are short.
Yep.
And fast,
So they're all getting published in English by J Novel Club. That was just announced like a little while ago. The release is coming in next year in July. So July 2021, we can read the first omnibus volume of the Slayers novels, and they're going to come out at a pretty good clip after that.
Cool.
In some other brief news, as you know, there won't be really any conventions this year that are in person, but there's going to be a bunch of conventions online. It is highly likely we'll be doing a panel or two at the Crunchyroll Expo, which is coming up in early September. So keep an eye out for that. I don't think they haven't published a lot of details about exactly what's going to happen at the convention yet, but the website's up. Like, if you're a nerd who thinks you have a panel to submit, like, they have all those normal channels. There's a very good chance we will be presenting there as well as at PAX Online. I think we talked about in the last show, if you are the kind of person who thinks you can do the kind of things we do, like you have something to say about anime or something to say about games.
All you gotta do is push a record button on whatever camera you got. Your phone is good enough, your webcam's good enough, and then talk about a nerdy thing that you are an expert on. If you're a nerd, there's got to be something you know a lot about, something you're way into.
Maybe you read the entirety of Cromartie and you figured out some like massive reading of Cromartie, the manga, that no one has expressed before, and you want to talk about the allegory and nuance of that manga.
Or maybe you're even just such a mainstream nerd, right? It's like you watch Star Wars and you play some AAA video game. It's like, well, you play the AAA video game a whole bunch. You should probably know a lot about it, right? Which means you should be able to talk about it for like an hour. Boom. Done. You got your panel.
Yeah, here's an idea. Say you're mainly not an anime fan. Like, you don't go to anime cons, but you watch a lot of anime. Like, there are a lot of people who watch a lot of anime, would never self-identify as an anime fan. Anime is just something they watch. I could see a panel being someone like that, just saying, like, talking about how that fan experience is. Because a lot of weebs and people like us who are really into the anime world, we have particular and peculiar tastes sometimes. Like, anime fandom is not really like what most people who watch anime are like in America. I could see that being a cool panel. But it's virtual. It's online. Now's your chance. If you've always wanted to do a panel at a con, but you couldn't fly out, you get stage fright, you can make a million takes, you can edit your panel if you need to. There's a lot of ways to go here.
Good times.
All right. But anyway, things of the day. So this is a pretty cool video. It's only about 2 minutes long. It's colorized. It wasn't filmed in color, obviously, but it was colorized with some decent nuance. This is just some film footage, like candid street film footage of Tokyo around 1913 through 1915, over 100 years ago. And this is very similar. I had a thing today a long time ago that was basically a similar thing for New York City from the same time period. This is really fascinating to watch because there is, in many ways, very little difference between how people react to a camera in Tokyo in 1913 and how people react to a camera on the streets of New York City in 1913. Right down to little kid, like adults trying to like not look at the camera because they understand what's going on, and kids running over to the camera and jumping up and down and like making a ruckus. It's a pretty good video. It's pretty cool.
All right.
So what do you got?
So as someone who has owned the entirety of the Akira manga twice, might own it again, we'll see, is watched the movie several times in all of its different mastered editions, right? Pretty much, everything short of getting all the Japanese merchandise that was made when I was like, less than 10 years old. Right? I was not aware of this video that who knows when this video was originally made available to the public, but it's been online on YouTube since 2017, and I just didn't know about it.
It's copyright 1988.
Right, yeah. So, but it only has 2.3K upvotes. I don't know why it has 12 downvotes. It only has 53,000 views. The point is, this is a video from the studio where they were making Akira. You are watching in this video. They're painting the backgrounds for the movie. They are drawing the cells. They are photographing the cells. Right? There's a Japanese narrator, but it's been dubbed over in English, so the Japanese narration volume is very quiet and you can't really hear it. Not that I could understand it anyway, but the English narrator is obviously greatly simplifying what the original narration was.
This feels very similar to the footage you get if you watch The Reluctant Dragon from Disney.
Right. But it really doesn't matter what the narrator's saying. You can see here what it looked like when they were making this movie. And if people don't know, about some of the production details of Akira, the movie, right? Not only did it cost a fortune for the time, right? And it got delayed a whole bunch, I think. And it forced the manga to get delayed because Otomo was working on this instead and such. But I had heard that it was animated on the ones for the entire movie, right? Which means that they drew 24 pictures for every second of animation. But in this video, it shows them, right, photographing cells, and when they push the advance button, right, for the film, you can see the counter goes up by 2, right? And animating on the 2s is still amazing, right? Usually things are animated on like the 3s or well, I don't know.
I found a Reddit thread where there's a long debate about whether or not it was on the 1s or 2s.
Well, here's a video where clearly they advanced that frame by 2, right? I think that's indisputable. The number goes up by 2 on the counter, right? Regardless, it also talks about just the absurd number of different colors of paint that were used to make Akira. And you can see here, everyone knows the backgrounds in Akira were always astonishing, right? Especially the cityscapes. And you can see here the dude with the gold paint and the paintbrush putting dots, right? Using a special tool to keep the dots in a straight line, right? To put the windows on the faraway skyscrapers, right? And it's like, yeah, this is why no one does this anymore. But you can at least we have video footage showing how it was done. It wasn't some trick, right? Go watch Akira if you haven't seen it. What's wrong with you?
I can watch Akira again. It's been a while.
I can watch it again every day.
Akira's definitely it's on that list of movies I would just probably watch to the end if I started watching any part of it.
Sure.
All right, in the meta moment, we're stuck at home. We can't do a lot. We'll be at some online cons, like I said. Follow our YouTubes. You'll see stuff we're working on. We're at some point going to read The Tale of Genji, but we're not reading a lot right now because we don't have any travel where we would normally read. Yeah.
Read some Slayers novels instead, why don't you?
Starting in a year, which we'll see if we're still in a quarantine by then, considering the way the U.S. is going.
Uh-oh. We'll have to escape.
I'm already looking at not going back to my office until early 2022, so...
Yeah, they said for me, I will not be forced to go back to the office until mid-September, and then after that is question mark, right?
Yeah,
so,
we have September. We have like an opt-in where people can
you can
ask
actually.
to opt in.
I could if I wanted to have asked and gone back to my office like now-ish. But they posted a video of like the protocols for going back to the office.
Oh
and
yeah,
I'm like,
there's a whole onerous thing. Like if you want to go back to the office, and I was like, no.
And it's like why bother? If no one else is, if my team people on my team aren't all going to be there, then what's the benefit? Why should I go through the hassle?
Yeah, instead of being on a video call from my comfy house, I'll be on a video call wearing a mask from an office with other people who are in their comfy houses.
Yeah, no point.
Yeah, but I told the powers that be that I'm unwilling to return to any office until I get a vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
So that pushes my date out pretty far, and we'll see how things go.
But
yeah, we're making stuff as best we can. Follow our YouTube channels. Stay tuned for stuff, and let's get right into it. BNA is one of those hot new anime.
I think we talked about it maybe when it was announced as a news on the show, but yeah.
Definitely talked about it as a news.
Studio Trigger's newest TV show is on Netflix in the US, season 1. It's 12 episodes. It's called BNA.
Brand new animal.
It's basically, DNA only replace the D with B for beasts.
Yep.
Because it's another furry show, just like Beastars.
Yep.
Netflix seems to love these. And
Kipo goes that
just
route too. This is the era
just
of
like
furries.
just like Beastars, the main character is, well, not the main character, actually, the second main character is a wolf dude.
Yep.
Um,
Our main characters are basically an awesome wolf dude, a kitsune, a tanuki, and some other things I'm not going to spoil.
Right, so it's Studio Trigger, the people who brought you
Such
Inferno
delights
Cop,
as Promare.
Kill La Kill,
Yep.
Little Witch Academia, etc. This one, you can still see a lot of the typical Studio Trigger tropes in this show.
The specific thing that the gold or white star that appears over things during effects is like all over this thing. That's like Trigger's signature at this point.
You can see a lot of their it's all over the show.
Well, I
right?
mean, Inferno Cop makes a cameo in BNA.
Yeah, you could just tell that this is a Studio Trigger show by watching it. But the extreme crazy power level, right? The triggerometer is lower, right? I think on Promare, the triggerometer is like a full on turn up to 11, right? On Kill La Kill, it's at like 9, right?
This is at like 6.5, 7 on the trigger scale.
Yeah, right. And Little Witch Academia, it's even lower. It's maybe like 4 or 3, right?
But I guess what I'd
Here,
say is
it's like 5, 6-ish area. We'll say 6.
Kill La Kill was just fucking let's go crazy, crazy, crazy. What the fuck is going on? Promare was that times a million. This is more like a normal anime, but like the kind of anime that I was really into when I was getting into anime. Like this is the kind of show that I just love. But instead of just being Trigger to 11 the entire time, it's like Trigger at 6 or 7 the entire time, but individual scenes or episodes will approach the 10 trigger scale.
Right.
Like the fight with the rhino.
I think the baseball episode is the most Studio Trigger. Right?
Yeah, the baseball episode and certain climax moments of the plot.
The baseball episode was extremely a lot like in Kill La Kill with all the different sports teams, right?
Yeah.
And the final sports team with like the killing, like the bat that explodes and throws shards and and also the catcher on the baseball team, the little tiny bear.
I love the little tiny bear.
Is basically Mako Wakanshoku from Kill La Kill. It's the same character.
Right down to like they're living in the poor part of town.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was the same voice actor. It's the same personality, and that character shows up in the baseball episode and then recurs throughout the rest of the season.
So I got a question for you. Which of the bears was your favorite one? Was it that one? Because
I mean, I don't really remember the other ones.
They stood out in my mind because there's one that makes this blank face the whole time, and there's one who always has his tongue hanging out, and it's a tie between those two for my favorite bear.
Yeah, the other ones aren't memorable because they don't have names and they don't recur. It's only that one, the tiny one that is.
I like the flamingos too. They
show.
felt a lot like a mini boss in Kill La Kill.
Yeah, they gave the flamingos more screen time and personality than the other evil baseball teams. In that episode. All right, so BNA, what the hell is this show about?
Don't worry, we won't spoil anything. It's only 12 episodes. Just fucking watch it.
Right. It's about furries, right? And it's also the X-Men.
It's also about racism.
X-Men.
Yeah, and X-Men and
there's
oppression.
a world. Some people in the world are humans. Some people are beast people. Beast people are furries.
Yeah,
but
this isn't like a secret. This isn't like secret beast people. It's like imagine if the entire history of the world, like history books talk about beastmen the whole time.
All right, they can transform between a human form and a beast form, but they're inherently different, like species of Homo sapien, but they're still sentient people. They're just beast people, right? They're just not Homo sapiens, and they're persecuted by society. And so, at least in Japan, the Beastmen have the option of going to this city that's been around for 10 years only. It's a new city where the Beastmen can escape and live nominally only with other Beastmen, and therefore be free to be Beastmen and not be persecuted.
within basically a ghetto.
Yes, exactly, right? It's like there's no internet there, right? So it's like here,
and also the motives of the people who created the city, like there's questionable things going on.
It's a lot like Genosha in X-Men. It's like all you mutants go, or whatever. It's like, okay, all you people who are different can go live in this other place, and therefore you won't have to face direct persecution from people of, humans, because you won't see humans. They're not there. There's no humans living there. But your entire city is walled off, gets shitty supplies. People are living in poverty, right? So you're still facing this sort of systemic persecution from the
Yep.
rest of the world, right? There was talk about like bird beast people having trouble like migrating
Yep.
because they
Like you got
can't
to
go.
have a passport now.
Right, exactly. That sort of thing is going on.
Yep. And the transform, like the characters, the cool thing is what they sort of transform based on emotion and just whatever they're up to. Like they're usually human by default, but they'll sort of turn into the animal depending on what they're up to. And they'll turn into varying degrees of that animal.
Yep. So what's going on in the plot? The plot is pretty simple. There is a human girl who's the main character who became a beast person, which
Like
is
she
not
was
normal.
a human. She was a straight
Right.
up normal human, and she became a beast person, and she doesn't know why. And she
Right, that
flees
is not
to Anima
normal.
City.
Everyone else is either born a beast person or born a person. She was born a person and became a beast person, a very strange powered beast person. And so to escape the persecution, she runs to the beast people city. And when she arrives there, she just, as the viewer, you discover more quickly than the characters that shit in the beast city, there's definitely crazy secret conspiracies going
Yep.
on where people are up to no good. There's a shady pharmaceutical company that's probably doing bad shit.
Yep.
The mayor looks like they're up to bad shit. There's a shady.
She
the
shows
second main
up with her goal of, but there's a very clear story here. If she shows up looking to just be safe and look for a cure for being a beast man, and slowly starts to come to like being a beast man and like start to integrate herself into the society.
Yep. There's a shady mafia that's up to no good. Basically, all these different factions of beast people. There's a religion that's up to no good.
Yep.
Right? They're all mysteriously up to no good, and the humans are obviously way no good.
Yeah, but if
right?
I had to review the show, like in terms of like, I really like it. This is an A anime, hands down.
It's pretty good.
It's not A plus. That's super rare, but it's definitely an A anime. I'd put it in the A class. But the things that make it good is one, it's animated so well. It looks beautiful. It's
Very
highly,
nice.
highly stylized, but it makes a lot more sense than some parts of Promare do. Like it is still grounded in like a choreography and a real world to a degree. It also uses color and shading like really effectively to convey a bunch of interesting things. And it moves quick. It skips over the boring, obvious misunderstanding plots, and like things you think will take the whole show to get resolved are resolved like in the episode they're introduced to move on to something else. Like things move.
That is what I was surprised and pleased by that. In that 12 episodes, I thought it's like, well, I guess I'm going to have to wait for season 2 to uncover all these mysteries of the shady biz with the pharmaceutical company and the religion and the mafia and all those things. It's like, no, they covered all those in season 1.
Like there's an episode, like in the beginning, there's like, oh, there's a mystery of the Silver Wolf, and it's pretty obvious to the viewer that most likely the wolf guy is the Silver Wolf. Like they foreshadow that heavily. But the episode where that gets resolved, you learn what the Silver Wolf really is. And in the same episode, a whole bunch of characters find this out or reveal that they knew the true story, and they all share that information, and then the show just moves on. That is... I'm very refreshed anytime a show moves quick and skips misunderstanding plots. That's basically my least favorite plot on Earth.
Yep. Let's see what else is going on in this show. So, that's another thing that they move on. There's a mystery of the main character had a friend, a human friend from
who
her
also turned
pre-beast,
into a beast person.
who also turned into a beast person. And that friend is not present. Like all you know about them is that like they were kidnapped or whatever, and
They show
disappeared.
up like, and it's a really interesting plot.
That
more
character,
than I thought.
yeah, it's like the mystery of that. It's like, oh, is the friend gonna show up like at the end or something? It's like, no, they show up kind of early on, right? Not super early, but they show up, right?
They show up about like around halfway through, and that also progresses rapidly. Like that character and that character's arc really just keeps moving at a high pace.
So, another thing about this show is that much like a lot of other recent Studio Trigger anime, right? It is going down the gay road.
Oh yeah, it is very clear that our main character and her friend, there was definitely a like romantic attraction there that has I'm trying not to spoil anything. The show's only 12 episodes.
Much like in Kill La kill, right? It's like there was clearly something going on, right? In Promare, it was even more clear, right? And in BNA, I don't know, it's like the only way they could make it more clear is to stop being cowards and make it explicit. They always do that thing where it's like, yeah, everyone can tell that they're gay. There's no hetero relationships going on, right? You know, you can tell this person is only expressing feelings towards this same-sex person, same-gendered person, right? Yet they don't kiss, they don't hug, they don't actually say, they don't, they don't fuck, they don't do anything to make the gayness explicit, right? Which is, I think, it's like on the one hand, it's like, yay, it's a gay show. Right, a gay furry show that's like, come on, right? But on the other hand, it's like, you cowards, right?
Yep.
You're not doing it.
Of course, at the same time, there is an argument to be made that by not just you don't have to have a relationship in every show.
That's true.
Like there is the trope of shows like to just pair characters off and have relationships be like a plot of the show alongside everything else. So it is a little refreshing that it is not a primary plot, but that it's there.
Well, if you want to hear more about that,
yeah, our friends at Gay Breakfast did a podcast about the gay perspective on BNA.
Yes, we have gay friends who make a gay podcast called Gay Breakfast, and they did an episode on BNA before us. And I'm sure if you listen to that, I haven't listened to their episode on it, but I'm sure if you did, it'll probably be the whole episode talking about pretty much what I just said, among other things.
Though, as an aside, because I mentioned Kipo, I'm not going to spoil any details, but something very refreshing about that show, because it's a kid's show. An arc starts in an episode where a female character begins to profess that they like a male character, like that typical arc. And the male character is like, yeah, that's cool and all, but I'm gay. He just says it, like, outright. And the female character is like, oh, cool. And then they just stay friends. Like, that's it. It's just explicit. It happens immediately. The show just moves on, and it was a very like refreshing moment for a kids show that's on mainstream TV.
Yeah, I do want to point out though the last note about the gayness, the gay factor, right? Is that Kill la Kill, right? Was Yuri action.
Yeah.
And Promare was gay action.
Yeah.
Right. And now we got Yuri action again. Whatever the next Trigger show is, right?
Men loving men, here they come.
Look for the M2M action coming back.
But I guess the show is a solid anime. Like the plot is complex enough to be interesting in the same way that a lot of the anime I like are interesting. One thing I noticed in particular, I've seen everything but the last 4 episodes at this point. We're gonna finish
I watched the whole thing.
Yep, I haven't seen the last 4, but I can see the trajectory of where this is going, especially once the history of the Beastmen and that clearly Byzantine story, like Byzantine era story came from.
Basically, the tropes of other Trigger things, right, are in full force. It's like all the ending, which you haven't seen, is basically the same ending as other Trigger things.
Yeah.
It's it's like, and also they borrow heavily from other animes, right? It's
well, like one thing I noticed,
it's a very Macross ending.
Yeah, but whenever the mayor is talking to Ogami, the wolf, they feel so much like when Aramaki is talking to the major.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
Like, I am the person with the plots.
The mayor has some badass scenes.
Yep, the mayor gives off big Aramaki energy.
Yep.
And I also appreciate the power scales in the show. Like when there are fights, like, when there's a character who is supposed to be more powerful than everyone else, this show handles that really well. The wolf guy is crazy powerful, and whenever that matters, like there's a scene where like someone pulls a gun on him. I think they spent 1 frame of animation on him disarming that person.
Makes sense.
He moves so fast and is so powerful, and the fight scenes in the show when there are fights are really, really dynamic and fun, but they're not as abstract as like a Promare fight scene. Like you could draw these fight scenes in a physical space and they would make sense.
Most of them, yeah.
Well, most of them. The parts that would be hard to draw or make sense are the shape-changing things that the Tanuki does specifically because she's a shapeshifter.
Yeah. I think the one thing is that, most of the things that happen in this show, it doesn't have a lot of originality, right? Like, we kept making references to like Ghost in the Shell, Macross, other Trigger shows, right? It feels like almost like a greatest hits of other good anime.
It's a greatest hits of what I like about anime the most.
Oh yeah, it's great. I didn't say it's the worst hits, right? It's greatest hits of other animes sort of combined into one anime.
Yep. But yeah, there was no like big surprise. Like it's well crafted, but it does not have any moment like an Evangelion or a Cowboy Bebop has of, well, I didn't see that coming and now I got to think about it for a while.
Right. I think it's not like, oh my God, the greatest show. It's just like, it's an anime. It's a great anime.
Yep.
But it's still solidly, it's an anime. It's like, we are making an anime here. We're doing all the anime things. If you're an anime fan, you're going to like this.
Yep.
I think if you're not an anime fan, this show might be a little
The show is very anime-y in a good way, but yeah, like if I show this to some random person who's never really watched anime, I think they might have a little trouble with how fast it moves.
I think also the themes and tropes and patterns and story points and characters I think are gonna miss.
What I really
not familiar and comfortable with them.
There's a large number of characters and they're all relatively complex and their dialogues and interactions also move quickly alongside the plot. Like characters will not like resist the same conversation multiple times in a row. A lot of recent anime have had this weird specific trope of characters basically spend a long time trying to convince each other of things multiple times. This show blows past that.
No. I do like how fast it moves because it doesn't move too fast, but it moves fast enough.
Like episode 1, what do I do in this weird town? How do I get cured? Episode 3, I'm on the baseball team. Let's go.
Right. I do wish, though, it would have slowed down because there are some side characters, right, who do not get their time, right? So there's like
Flip's daughter. I wish had more time. The cop, the cop dog.
Right, Flip's daughter gets a whole episode, but then you never see her again.
Yeah, I would like to see her again.
Flip you see occasionally, but he never gets his whole episode to learn what his deal is.
I wanted more Flip because Flip is a lot like Wide Whale. You're gonna get more
Brothers. If you haven't watched the last 4 episodes, you're getting more Flip.
Okay, good.
You're getting good Flip, but you're not getting a Flip episode where you can learn his deal. Right?
Because I like Flip because Flip is like a Kingpin kind of character, or like Wide Whale from Venture Brothers, in that he's a bad guy. But you can understand his motivations. He's like very harsh but fair. Like I love when him and Ogami interact. Not saying he's a good person.
The two beast people, Melissa or whatever, that run the co-op. The landlords.
I feel like you could make a show about them where they
they obviously have enough. There's something there. You could obviously make 2 episodes, one about each of them.
You know how they feel? They feel like the characters who like run the bed and breakfast in a Master Keaton volume.
Yep, exactly.
Like Master Keaton background characters for a story.
There's all these side characters who I think, if the show had gone a little slower, could have still had a fast enough pace to keep things interesting.
I think the show could have been 26 episodes and done a lot more fun stuff.
And you could have explored all of those characters. And maybe season 2 will do exactly that. Because the ending is definitely, it's like what they've done is the ending is such... It's not a spoiler. The ending is such that all of the mysteries and plots that have been brought up in season 1 are wrapped up. So you're not left cliffhanged in any way, right? But the state of the world that is in, the new status quo that they have achieved at the end of season 1, still it doesn't leave mysteries, right, about all those things that you were worried about, like, the religion and the pharmaceutical company and all that stuff. No mysteries anymore. You're good. You don't need to watch season 2, right? But the state of the world is such that there is still the remaining conflict of, beast people and humans in the world, right, not perfectly at peace, leaving open the door for, seasons however many they want to make. They would just need to bring in new antagonists, right, to make another season.
The religion part sort of like, I already really like the show, but the speed at which the religion part was introduced and then escalated was part of how I went from this is a really good show to this is a great show, because that was the kind of thing that would in a normal anime take like an entire half season to build up, and that religion goes from 0 to 60 in like 2 episodes.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Beyond that, like the voice acting is great, the animation is beautiful, and on a lot of shows that have like animal type characters, like anime over the years, tend to really skimp out on the animation. This show really doubles down on the animal people acting in animal ways and like little details on how transformed they are and like the nails and little bits like that.
I mean, the mink needs an episode. Right?
I want a whole series that's just her. She's my second favorite character.
Okay. But yeah, if you are a furry, if you are an anime fan, if you are not
if you've
straight,
ever seen an anime or ever enjoyed an animal person, this show is for you.
And you have Netflix, and you have 12 divided by 2, less than say 5 to 6 hours of free time, and you can click the skip intro and skip outro button because
you shouldn't click. The intro is great and the outro is beautiful.
Yeah, but you only to watch it once. They're not like
Scott, what kind of anime fan are you? The rule is you watch the opener every time, no matter what.
They're not good enough to watch more than a couple times.
I think the closer. I think is worth watching every time.
And you can burn through this show in like 5 hours, and you're stuck inside, not going anywhere. I know it. So like, go to open up your Netflix.
If you listen to Geek Nights, you have to watch this show. Like, I cannot imagine the person who's hearing the words we're saying right now who will not enjoy this anime.
Someone who I know for a fact that there are people who have listened to Geek Nights Wednesday who are not anime fans and actually don't like anime, but for some reason that listener listens to this, and that person probably won't like this show.
I'll bet that person will. If you don't, I want to find out why. I want you to email me.
Okay. If that person exists. The non-anime fan listening to Anime Geek Nights.
Yep. This show is just, you know that feeling you get? Like, we talked about this a lot over the last, like, decade plus of doing Geek Nights, but so there's a lot of eras where, like, we'll watch anime because, like, we want to review the show or, like, it's a pretty good show. But then there's an anime where at the end of every episode, all you want to do is start watching the next episode. And those shows are relatively rare. As much as I love animation, even really good shows don't always give me that feeling of, yeah, I got to watch another episode. This is one of those shows where every episode I finished, I just wanted to watch the next one. That's a high praise, and seek out shows like that. This gave me the same feeling I got every time like when I was watching Gundam Seed or when I was watching Cowboy Bebop.
All right, well, Studio Trigger, of course, was another good one. You can always, count on them. We'll see what they come with next. Maybe someone else already knows what they're coming with next, and I just didn't look it up.
Continuing to save anime every year.
Yep. BNA on Netflix, I guess until forever, because it's a Netflix exclusive. They made it for Netflix.
All right, I think we did a good show there.
All right. So they're at Firefox Send.